Okay.
Uh,
Pledge allegiance to
To
the
the
flag
flag
of the United States of America
and to the
republic
republic
which
for
is
which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for attending the meeting tonight. We've got a full house. That's good. I don't know if anybody noticed that Dan Bombaro is with us tonight. His name has come up in the past as support to Walt Gankars on some of the projects, including the pool, CHP, and the base station solar panels. And Walt, did you want to make any mention of the fact that Dan is?
Well, really, actually, yes. And in addition to that, technically, my last day is tomorrow. They haven't put an RFP out for my replacement yet, so I suspect I'll still be around for a little while. But Dan will be the guy transitioning into liaison for the Energy Commission. But
Okay.
I think he's an excellent candidate. He's already familiar with most of our significant projects.
Good.
Oh, you would be eligible to become a member then.
Yeah, right.
I'm not a joiner yet. I got to kind of step back a second.
You live in Cheshire?
Yeah.
You do, yeah. We could recruit you. I'm not getting any candidates, Ann, from either Republican or Democratic nominating committee.
No, and you're not the only commission. I don't know why they don't move faster on that. And I would really keep after the town council liaison, because they're supposed to be going to the chairs and requesting positions be filled, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, we should move right into the agenda, which I don't have a can I share my screen? Yeah.
Let's see.
You gotta enable me to.
Let's see. Trying to see if I want to enable you to share. Hold on one second. Let's see, Rich.
Yes, Dan Newton, what happened to the cat? Let the cat out of the bag.
What the hell?
I only got like 5 pictures here.
I think that
I'm not gonna be able to share.
I'm the host, and I know that what I'll do is I'll try.
All right, so let's not hold it up. All right, so I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
go
click
ahead.
OK on that. All right, so the first order of business is to review and approve the previous minutes. The minutes of the May 26th meeting, which our videographer there missed the first part of the meeting, so we had a little trouble getting the minutes put together.
Mhm.
But, I assume that tonight's meeting is going to be filmed in its entirety, correct? Yeah.
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
It was. I mean, Mike was on last time. It was not filmed in its entirety.
The first part got missed. I think he jumped on a little bit later than,
Oh,
I don't know,
okay.
maybe 10 minutes or whatever. But yeah, so as a result, Michelle couldn't put together the first part of the meeting minutes. That's
Okay.
why I had to send you what I did. And I don't know, where do we stand? I sent the corrections to the previous minutes to you. Did they ever get made?
So Michelle was on a temporary leave of absence,
Oh,
and she just returned to work today, and I spoke with her. She's going to do the minutes for this meeting, and she's going to go and sign the copy that was submitted to the clerk's office.
okay. And what about the minutes of the February meeting or whatever that last?
I saw the May minutes today.
Yeah, we had May.
We didn't have a meeting in April.
You didn't have a meeting in March or April.
Right.
So
And last
February-
meeting is when I thought we did February minutes, no?
Well, yeah, I reviewed them and they were approved with my edits or comments. but she said she didn't know what they were because that part of the meeting was not filmed. So I sent you and her my comments, the February minutes, but I haven't heard back. I don't know if they've been incorporated.
So your comments, I thought I sent you a copy of what I submitted to the clerk's office. So we're talking about last meeting minutes. You saw what I submitted to the clerk's office.
That's the May minutes, yeah.
Right. What I'll have to do is I'll have to follow up on it, make sure all the meetings are done. I count on the secretary. The recording secretary is in charge of submitting minutes. It's not normally something I get involved in other than to post and to submit. So I will have to follow up and make sure that they're complete.
Talk to Michelle, if she's back, make that she received edits, February minutes. And not just that she received them, but that she actually incorporated the changes into the February minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So now we can look at the May minutes and I'll send it out to you guys. Does anybody have any comments or corrections to the May minutes? May 26th. That being the case, nobody ever really does. I have a few. Actually, just a couple. The commissioners present, under the present, Dan Knutson. Dan Knutson's name is not in the list. He did come in towards the end of the meeting, so he should be listed. And staff present, it says Walter Gankars was there, but he wasn't there. And he had a good excuse.
Yeah. No, May, I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No.
I'm 100% sure I was there.
I thought you told me that your father had been moved to the hospital.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that was before. He died on the 20th. The meeting was on the 26th.
Okay, well, we can,
Well, we should have a video record of it anyway.
Yeah,
That's
can
what we're
verify.
talking about. If it's May, that was on video.
yeah.
okay, all right, so then I'll hold off on that. I thought that you told me that you weren't there, and then I don't know if I saw you or not, but that's okay. But Dan Knutson did attend, so his name has to be added. That's all I've got. So therefore, I'm looking for a motion to,
I make a
Accept the
motion to
minutes.
accept the minutes of
okay,
May.
by David and seconded by Walter Gajewski, and I presume there's no further discussions. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the first agenda item, Ann, help me, I think, the community pool? Oh, no, I'm sorry, the
Old business.
Publicity,
Energy efficiency projects.
Actually, before that was communications.
Oh,
communication.
I'm sorry, communications.
Right.
Right, Walter, sorry.
And I mentioned at the last meeting that Paul used to follow up carefully on articles in the local papers and any communications having to do with energy topics. And obviously, I don't have anything from him. Is there anybody else that has? Don, I think you were gonna. Don,
I sent a couple of articles out that I'd found in my email, and it was just one of them was kind of interesting. There was in the Energy Star newsletters I've been getting, and
Yep.
they talk about let's see, they were talking about what was I don't have my copy over here, unfortunately.
One was on the treasure hunt.
It's a
Yeah,
treasure.
the treasure hunt.
The treasure.
It looked kind of interesting. It was kind of like a junior high type of thing, you know. But the idea is if they have visits to like other municipal buildings where we as a commission, maybe a couple of us can go on a field trip type of thing and see what they do. You know, it might be worthwhile.
Yeah.
I'll look it up and I'll see if I can find something for next time.
Yeah, Don sent that out
Recently,
the
yeah.
evening at 6 o'clock roughly, and everybody's on the distribution. So if you haven't seen it, you can go back into your email, Dave, if it's working.
Well, mine's not working. Did anybody get that thing I sent out about the RFP? I
No,
sent it out about 4 o'clock.
I did not see it.
I don't think it might either receiving or sending it.
Okay. Well, the second item, though, in that email that you sent out, Don, had to
Yep.
do with, we all, not all of us, but some of us may remember that in the earlier days of the commission, and Carol used to always talk about this, there was a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And it was,
Totally manual, yeah.
yeah, it was the energy consumption of all the buildings in town, normalized and adjusted for degree days and whatever. And when I read this part, you were saying that you had heard that Eversource had a dashboard which shows these details. I think you may be talking about the portfolio manager, but if you're not,
Yes, exactly. I wasn't sure what the,
right,
wording
so we no longer do the spreadsheets.
Yeah, I know.
We do.
but
the
can we
portfolio management.
can we get our hands? Can we get our hands on that, that portfolio manager?
Yeah, and Dave,
I can try to
Try to
get,
be. You can.
Yeah,
we'll
you know,
talk about-
I would let Walter and Dan handle this because they're the most current with the whole operation.
good.
The interface between University of Connecticut, who is updating this portfolio manager for us. and
More accurately, we should let Dan do it. So give it to somebody who knows what he's talking about there.
Exactly.
yeah, but Dave, you had volunteered to take over that, and that goes back several months ago. Are
Yeah,
you
but
now
I've
trying
learned how to
to,
delegate in my old age.
you want to delegate it to Dan?
Much of it is automated in the sense that all the Eversource accounts, they're going to update it automatically. The wild card ends up being our manual deliveries of oil and such of that nature
Right.
through other third parties. But the major components of it are all going to be automatically updated through this program that they've synced up at this point for the better part.
Okay. So we'll
And I
talk
think
more
there's only a
about that.
few accounts left, right, Dan?
The only outlier that we're looking at right now is a couple of the buildings, the information for the buildings that they use to average out everything, the size of the buildings, number of occupants, computers, such of that nature, operating hours, so on.
And,
Yeah,
uh,
and that's
coordinating-
information, Rich, that, the program uses to compare you to other buildings of a similar type nationwide.
Right. All right, I want to just leave that for a moment and come back to it with an update from Dave on what UConn is doing. So let's just set that aside for a bit. So after communications, we get into the energy efficiency projects, and the first one has to do with the community pool, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
So,
once again, Rich, Dan is the guy on top, all over that now.
okay, well, that's good to know, but yes,
So-
I would say that at the last meeting, when we were questioning whether we should shut that CHP system down because there was no heat recovery and it was operating at very, very low electrical loads and probably was not very efficient. But since then, the pool has been reopened, right?
Yes.
Yeah, true, okay.
Yeah.
So I presume that the unit is running again. If it was shut down, it's not shut down anymore. It's back in operation, correct?
Correct.
It was never fully shut down. No, they continued. Their suggestion was to continue to let it run, the production. But now the pool is filled again, and it is running.
Okay,
One thing we did do is reach out to them, and we were pretty close to the 7,500 hours. So they actually did the annual maintenance while the pool was shut. So
Good.
when the pool went back online, there was no further shutdown.
okay. So is that the interval, 7,500 hours?
Yep,
That's a little bit less than a year, right?
yep.
So is it really 7,500 or are we going to just do it annually?
it comes down to almost annual, but that's what's in the contract, 7,500 hours.
Hmm.
And the idea too was because I believe, isn't it a 5-year term, Dan?
I believe so.
Yeah, so the idea is that we would get the 5th maintenance in before 5 years.
Okay. So that's really what I wanted to discuss is what's the maintenance schedule? And you just said it's been done and it's not due again until another 10 or 11 months from now. right?
Yep.
Yeah, the unit has been running since, well, it started up at the end of June and from about July 1st, it's been running on, so to speak.
Okay. So any of the issues that were brought up by the staff there concerning the heat recovery and the heat, the hot water distribution, all those issues have been resolved, right?
To the best of our knowledge, yes. Yeah, a lot of the issues were external to the CHP itself. They were diaphragms and such, controlling water flow in the building.
Okay. All right, good. Then let's move on to the next item, which may be the bus depot. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
One other issue on pool, looking at our portfolio, there's one input there for a concession stand. I don't know if everybody got that memo I sent out. But
One
we're,
minute.
well, see, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, there was the concession stand at Bartlett.
Yeah, I mean, we're spending about almost $4,000 a month on electricity.
Dave, I thought that was 400 on the high bill that you showed.
4,000 a year, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 3,500.
Yeah, and if you got my email back to you, I reached out to the John Gallick, the Parks Department, and try to track down whether or not that garage on the property is coming off of the same meter. That would make the most sense as to what's going on there, and being that there's not an exposed meter on the outside of that garage building. That's
Okay,
kind of
hold on a
what
second.
we're looking at now.
Hold on a second, just so that we're all on the same page, which I don't think we are. This is a new item, right? This has got to be under new business or something.
Yeah, I sent out a memo about a week ago.
Yeah, I know, but it's never been talked about before at
No,
a meeting like this. So it's got to be added as a new item. And you need to, we'll say, Dave, you want to make a motion that we add this to our agenda? Yes, you do?
yes.
Okay, and somebody wants to second it, maybe? What happened to Dan Knutson? He's cool.
I'm gonna
All
say
right,
something.
so,
Fell asleep. There you
Whoa.
go. Frank.
oh, there's Dan. Why don't you second Dave's motion? I can't hear you.
You
You're on mute.
unmute. Oh.
Unmute yourself. Right, he's gonna second. All right, so there's no further discussion. We're gonna add this to the agenda and under new business, okay? What we're talking about here is a concession stand at Bartlett Park, not behind the high school at the football field, right?
Correct.
That's got other issues which really aren't energy related. But where is this exactly? Is it up by the softball field or?
Yes,
Right, so when you.
It's as you drive in on the left-hand side, about halfway to the pool.
The right hand side.
On the left side?
Right-hand side?
The right hand side.
Oh, okay.
Behind the yellow house.
Yes, it's behind the yellow house.
Yes.
Yeah.
correct.
I don't think it's been operational for several years now.
Oh, yeah. Somebody back several months ago suggested that we might want to put a solar panel on the top of that, right? Is that what somebody suggested? But anyway, all right, so this is a town-owned building? Yes?
Parks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Parks and Rec operates it? Okay.
They don't
Is it?
operate it. They lease out and have a contractor do it, but nobody signed up to do it for several years.
Right.
And
So it's not being used?
No.
Correct.
Okay, so then why is there energy consumption?
That's what we're going to try to get to the bottom of.
Okay. Okay.
Which it
because-
appears to be the 1 meter that serves that and a garage. So we're thinking that it's the use from the garage.
Where's the garage?
Next to the bathrooms adjacent to that on the left-hand side of the driveway. The garage came after the concession stand, and it doesn't have its own meter that's visible externally. So I'm gonna work with the Parks Department on trying to determine where the electricity is coming from for that building.
It's
Okay.
got plumbing, right? So it's heated?
That building, I can't speak to that. I know it's adjacent to the garage building you're talking about, or the
The concession
the
stand.
concession stand does have water and it is sewered. So
So
it could very well be winterized. It could be running electric heat. That's what we're going to try to work with John Gallick on to determine what's going on there.
Okay.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
but-
it's just kind of a waste of, I mean, we pumped, it's kind of interesting because I don't know when the garage was put up, but that stand's been up since 2013. And in total, we spent about $24,000 on electricity for it. I don't think it's been operational more than 1 or 2 seasons.
If you look at the kilowatt hour, is this kilowatt hours or dollars?
There's two. I don't have the memo right in front of it. The extreme right is dollars, and to the left of that is kilowatt hour
What are the numbers though?
for 1 year.
What are the numbers though? 207, 376, 14? Is that kilowatt hours or dollars?
I don't have the memo in front of me. All I did was transfer it from Portfolio Manager to Excel and totaled it.
Well,
Oh,
then I'm.
But
I'm
I only
missing a
sent you a
column.
year's worth.
I'm missing a column then.
Well, maybe. I'm having
Well,
trouble with
I don't
that.
know. What I was gonna say is that it looks like the consumption and or the dollars goes down a bit in the warmer months and goes up in the winter months,
Correct.
right?
That's correct. That's what I saw as well.
Which,
But again, I
seems
can't
to me
tell you
like
whether it's the
electrical.
kilowatt hours or the dollars because I don't know. It just has one
I
column.
think it could be the facility has never been winterized, so to keep the pipes from freezing or sewer lines, they keep the electrical heat on, something like that. Because, the sums go back, I think, to before that garage was built. When was the garage built, Walter, you know?
Mapping I saw was the early 2000s. Either way, Rich, I saw the same thing when I looked at Dave's email and saw it peak up and then come back down. So that's what leads me to believe we're getting some electrical use in the cooler months. It peaks up. Whether it's the garage itself that they're running something or this facility, we'll kind of work with John and try to shake
Okay.
out what's going on.
So, Ian, the minutes are gonna have to say that Public Works is looking into the consumption of what Dave distributed and to try to find, what's using the energy and whatever. So,
I'll make sure I look. I just want to clarify, Michelle is still doing the minutes
okay, right,
for
yeah.
the meetings, but I'll keep notes anyway.
Okay, good.
And just one other item on the pool. There's
So,
one
before-
meter that should be inactivated. We're spending about $50 a month with no consumption for the last year or so. And Sheila says she think it was discontinued, but it never officially was. So we should just cut the cord on it. We're paying about $50,
Sounds like a
$55
Public
a month.
Works. So Dan, can you make that happen? Get
I'll coordinate with Sheila. The pool facilities outside our purview, but
Right.
I'll talk to Sheila on it, and that's something that will work out.
Right, yeah, because I think, Eversource charges $35 a month for the meter plus all the stuff that's related to it, taxes and fees and whatever. So maybe it ends up being $50 a month.
Dave, when you have an opportunity, can you forward me if you have the meter number there?
Yeah, I got it right here if you want to. I'll forward it to you if I ever
That'd
get
be
my
great.
email working.
Sure.
Well, maybe you should just tell them what it is because your email may
Yeah,
not. work.
it's meter number 455470.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, quick question on this concession stand. Is this in, Portfolio Manager?
Yes, and it's under the pool, and Sheila says, hey, how come it's under the pool? It should be under Park and Rec.
Okay, but it is in Portfolio Manager.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
there's also another one in there that's kind of mystery. me too, so. But
Okay,
I'll discuss it with Dan.
okay. All right, so now we have, what else? What's the next agenda item, Ann?
Bus Depot.
Oh, the bus depot. Okay, well, we can't really talk too much about that because Rich Clavette normally reports on that. But I have some notes here from Walter. Did you get the year 4 M&V report?
I haven't seen it.
I just paid it.
No,
Yeah.
but basically the fourth year analysis of the
Yeah.
performance contract.
Dan, did you see it?
I did not know.
Okay,
And
well,
I usually get copied on it.
I have an excerpt of Appendix A. Did you participate in the annual site inspection via team?
I
Teams?
didn't. I believe George did.
Okay. Yeah, I think George and maybe Richard, but I have a list of a dozen things here, one of which says that is that a church bell?
No, it's my grandfather clock.
It says on one of the bullet items, the double wide trailer, this is information from the year 4 M&V report that you may or may not have seen, but I've got an excerpt from it. It says the double wide trailer at the bus depot was removed and replaced with a more efficient triple wide trailer. Control points for the new trailer are being integrated into the EMS. Is that really true? Did they take the double trailer out and put in a triple? Walter, you gotta unmute. Walt, you gotta unmute. Or maybe,
Walter Gajewski, you have to unmute.
there you
Yeah,
go.
rode
Now
my
you-
bike by there the other day and there's 2 structures there and I was thinking, I thought that old one was going away. And it was still there.
Did they bring in the new trailer?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's sitting there. And I never got a call to run my free blower door test on it.
Huh.
I offered to do.
Okay, well, I was a little surprised because I thought Rich Clavette said that COVID pandemic kind of or slowed everything down. But he did say it was supposed to have been delivered in April, so maybe they went ahead and did it.
Yeah, that's been there for a while. I went out there to look for the meters as part of our update, and it's been there for a while. It just might have slowed down the actual transition from one structure to the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we assume that it's fully, it could be fully operational if the school ever started back up again, or are they still doing stuff?
I can't speak to that. I'd defer that to Rich.
One of the things that bothers Walt Gajewski is a lot of the recommendations that we made never got incorporated into that new trailer. And I don't know what's the right time to go back to Vince Massiana and say, are you going to retrofit or do any upgrades that were recommended, or are we just going to let it slide? Maybe Walt Gajewski should take on that little.
Yeah. You know, I don't think Vince would do anything because, you know, as far as he's concerned, he got a great deal.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the memo that he sent to me, but he was telling me that he negotiated a very good contract extension with DATCO, and that, you know, to push them for energy efficiency improvements would be too much, or asking too much, or whatever. But and it would be at their expense, right? But then I said, well, why don't we pay the incremental cost? Why doesn't the town pay the incremental cost for the better insulation and the better
Heating system.
HVAC system, the heat pumps or whatever, and justify that on the basis of reduced energy consumption? maybe that's what we have to do. We got to let it start up for a while, run for a while, and then go in and retrofit certain things.
I mean, what you can observe in the energy portfolio is the energy per square foot, and that particular facility is well above average, the existing one. You know, it's like with similar type of office space, it's probably 2 to 3 times higher energy
Right.
consumption per square.
Is that because
Square
it's a
foot.
trailer? Is
Huh?
that because it's a trailer?
Probably. I don't think it has a skirt around the base, and it's it's a electrical resistive heating. And they probably let it stay on all night. The building's only used for a few hours a day. Yeah.
Well, it says here the control points are being integrated into the EMS. Who has that? Who's got control over the central EMS? Is that the school, or is the town hall part
Well,
of
the
it?
school has the school and the town has the town.
So,
Okay,
I mean, it would be Rich,
Yeah.
not
I
you,
mean,
Rich, but the other Rich.
yeah, but is there a central
that.
EMS? Is there a central town-wide EMS, or is there one for the town and one for the school?
I can't remember if we see the school buildings on ours. I mean, I certainly wouldn't go changing school settings.
No.
That's for certain.
But you can see them.
I believe we can, yeah.
But
Okay.
I assume Rich Clavette will get back to us on how the integration to that system is going. Right?
Yeah, so it'll be on the agenda for next month, and
Yeah, at our last meeting, or several meetings ago, Rich said that he would incrementally improve things like thermostating and control.
right,
Short of and I think I think Walter G said at least put a skirt around the bottom, and
right,
that usually saves quite a bit.
right.
And I would run a blower door on there if you want to find if there's any defects in how they put the trailers together, and clock them up or seal them up. That's something I would do. I mean, I carry a blower door in my car all the time, so
Okay.
it's not a big deal.
So then we would like to put that in the minutes that Walter Gajewski is willing to do a free blower door test on the triple wide trailer.
Correct.
All right, next is it Dodd and Highland?
Yes.
We can't report on that because that's got to come from Rich Clavette. Highland School, the government freezer. Does anybody on the call know anything about that?
Hmm.
Okay. And the lighting at the football stadium or the sports stadium. Anybody know anything about that? Okay.
Are we going to play football this year, or is that?
I don't know yet. Yeah.
Gotta get a new coach.
Oh,
You shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know. We're, as a football board, we're expecting to be able to do youth football at the end of August. And that the high school program could be delayed and possibly started as late as October instead of early September. And then they're thinking about maybe moving up the postseason games and eliminating Thanksgiving games. Just having championship games or whatever the postseason consists of at that point, earlier at the end of November instead of the beginning of December. All of that is subject to change.
Right.
Okay, so then benchmarking, is that next?
yes.
Okay,
Energy Star Portfolio Manager, status of Yukon database.
okay, Dave, now you're up. Benchmark.
Okay. Now this is where I divert the Dan.
No, you can't do that, can you?
Okay, I sent a memo to Amy Thompson, Professor Thompson,
Yeah.
saying I think we're just about there. Perhaps you could send back a completion memo with any suggestions or missing data gaps, et cetera. And Dan has been the closest to both Amy and her team, two postdocs or pre-docs, you know, in the program, Mohammed and Jordan.
Yeah,
And they've been very good. I mean, basically, Dan has been more or less running the town side of it with input from Rich at the Board of Education. So, I mean, he knows more about the details and has more conversations with UConn than I have.
Okay, so Dan, then, are you able to comment on the status of the Yukon project? Are they done? Are they 99% done?
I would put it at about 99 and a half. The only thing that we're missing again is, as I said before, was some building information relative to one of the town facilities that will help them to compare it to other locations. I do know probably within the next month, they're going to want to kind of highlight to everyone or anyone that's interested what they've done. I know Dave Walter and I had a conference with them where, you know, we discussed the outlying items about a month and a half ago, and again we've pressed to get all those things on the town side completed. I think they're pretty much summed up with what Rich Clavette needed to get them as well, so they should be finalizing. I could reach out to them and get a date of expect.
Okay, so then, a couple of ideas. Would it be worthwhile to have, or would she be willing to come to a meeting and show us what they've done, or bring us all up to speed on the capabilities of the portfolio manager, so that people like Don Nido can see it? And the second idea is, can you distribute to the commission the login credentials? I know, Walter, you had some questions about the safety, security of doing that, but I don't know if that's, do you still have a concern? I mean, shouldn't we all have access to that?
As far as a read only, yeah. I mean, we don't
Maybe.
want people making modifications to
Right.
things.
Right, but currently the login ID and the password allow you to make changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have an administrative, you know, capability.
All right,
So that's something we'd have to check with Amy if they can, you know, have a separate login that's just read only.
yeah, can you do that,
I
Dan?
think they do,
Absolutely.
yeah, because I don't think I could make changes to it. You know, I've tried to look at something like inactivate a meter or something like that, and I can't do it. But, you know, I have reading access to it, and I can copy it and convert it to Excel, and there's all sorts of, as far as I'm concerned, useful information that all the members of the Energy Commission should be able to easily
Right.
access.
Right,
You know, there's a ranking of energy per square foot. There's a comparison to other structures in the United States and Canada of similar square footage and use. Okay.
okay, well, let me make a kind of a tongue-in-cheek comment that we've been anticipating this for like close to 10 years. When we stopped doing the spreadsheets that Don referred to and started doing this sophisticated EPA Energy Star thing. And before it was automated, it was a royal pain to populate and keep the database up to date and all that. Now that I guess it's automated. Is it fully automated? All the monthly data goes in automatically?
Except for about, oil doesn't go in
And
and
I know that,
water doesn't go in yet.
okay,
Uh,
but the electricity and
Electric and gas.
the natural gas. Now, does the where are we buying our gas from? The town, let's say, as an example, the town is buying gas from, or electricity from TransCanada or what?
Constellation. The
Constellation?
electricity comes from Constellation. Actually, we just signed with Sprague Energy System, was it, for a year or 19 months?
Right, so you have,
18 months for 5 facilities. That doesn't
Yeah.
cover everything. The delivery all comes on either accord. The delivery all comes through Eversource, so it's a third
Right.
party. the reporting will still come through Eversource, the
All right,
billing.
so is the delivery going, it's going in directly from Eversource, right?
Correct. The
What about,
supplier is going to be Sprague or Constellation, and your delivery is going to be Eversource Energy.
how does the supply data get put into the portfolio manager? Does that go in automatically too, or does somebody have to put it in?
We'll have to look into that to see whether or not they're drawing that data from Eversource's numbers, because the metering and such comes through Eversource. So that might be automatically input. I don't want to say it is, but I'll follow up on that to make sure that we're
Yeah,
getting
because
screwed up information.
the energy units are on the Eversource bill, right? But is the price, are we paying Sprague or whoever through Eversource or directly to the third party?
Sprague gets paid independently for their 5 buildings, I believe. The other ones come through Eversource, just as, you know. And that just started like a month ago, because,
So you're just talking about town buildings, not Board of Education
Yeah,
buildings.
the Board of
Right.
Ed, they have a competitive supplier for gas, and I don't know about electricity. We just got to
I
make
think
sure that
they're-
all of the data is going in, not just the Eversource data.
right.
Yeah,
No, I
the
mean,
deliveries-
all the gas meters are in the program now. So, I mean, it should be coming through.
Is it just the delivery charges, or is the supply charge in there as well?
On electricity, it's both. At least I've calculated, it comes to about 16 cents a kilowatt hour.
What about gas? Both?
Gas comes in CCF, 100 cubic feet. And there's we get a separate rate for anything that's going to the pool cogeneration unit to lower. It's about 50 cents a CCF. The other's about 75.
Come on.
And we have to verify through Amy that that's being shown in the
Yeah.
portfolio
My
manager. That's what
question,
you're,
my
what you're getting
question
at, right?
is not being articulated clearly, all right? We know that we have Eversource for delivery, and we have other companies for supply, like Sprague and wherever the
Constellation.
schools are getting there. And we know that you've been telling us that it's automated and that we're getting it, all that data is going in automatically from Eversource. My question is the supplier data also going in automatically, or does somebody have to put it in?
For the electric, I know that supply data goes in.
Okay,
And I'm pretty sure for the gas it does too, but
okay,
I'd have to check on the Sprague part.
okay.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of bills and on gas, and there's a little footnote of who the supplier is and
Okay.
producer and who is the deliverer.
Okay. So now that we're all caught up and the Yukon project is nearly 100% complete, we can get to do what we always wanted to do, intended to do, is get our hands on this data, the comparisons between Cheshire, Connecticut and Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or whatever, for similar sized buildings and similar use patterns and all that, and make some determinations as to whether or not we are doing well or not doing so well, right? And we're only going to be able to do that if we can get if all of the commissioners can get into that database and make observations. So all right, so Dan, you'll find out if we can get separate login credentials, read-only type credentials. Okay, good. All right, enough of that. Next item, Ian.
The
Publicity?
news article, so the next one is publicity, education, and outreach, news articles and letters to the editor.
Okay, I'm not aware of any. Is anybody?
No.
Okay, nothing new.
Okay, next is clean energy, green skies.
Okay, that would be the 100 kilowatt solar carport.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody took the opportunity to, you can't click on this link for some reason, I don't know, but you can click it on the agenda It'll take you to the actual monitoring website, which is quite good. In fact, I think it's better than the Solar City one. Well, I don't know. The one that's in the lobby there down in the town hall. I mean, they're both good, but I like this one better. And it'll tell you how much energy has been produced and how many trees it's equivalent to and cars off the road and all that. And where it says here in the minutes that it's generating at 99 or 98 kilowatts, yeah, that's at peak. I mean, it doesn't generate 98 or 99. It probably didn't do it today, right? Because it was cloudy or rainy. But you can see what the generation is throughout the day. Every hour of the day, you can see a bar graph, and you can follow. Obviously, at this time of year, it's going to produce probably more kilowatt hours at 1 or 2 o'clock than it does at 7 or 8 in the morning and 7 or 8 at night. But it's a good tool. And I had asked Paul to share that story with the Cheshire Herald, and Walt Gankars, you had said, well, we'll wait a second. We got some bugs to work out. Have the bugs been worked out?
Well, the unit is operating fine. The only bug that, I contacted him about is, you're right. I mean, it shows generation rate, usually around between like, say, 10 in the morning and 2 at 98, 99 kilowatt hours or kW. So, I mean, that's really reaching optimum. The production meter seems to be lagging it. So they actually have to come out and take a look at that. But when they're measuring them at the inverters, it's performing exactly as you don't want it to. So I think they're supposed to come out. They're setting up a time to come out next week.
So,
So I'd kind of wait and let them see that.
excuse me, Walt, so you're saying that the production meter and the inverters should be more closely correlated? on that?
Yeah, I would think it should be. I mean, I think it should agree pretty closely. So I think there's, some glitch there, but the good news is that it is producing the amount of power we expect it to.
So how do we get credit? I mean, on what meter is the credit based on? Or I mean,
Yeah, so it would be based on the Verus meter, as I understand it, in which case, then you're actually,
are we being undercompensated or overcompensated, or you don't know? Because somebody records how much power has been produced, right? And then we have to pay a certain amount per kilowatt hour, correct?
right. But I mean, it's based on how much, that Eversource supplies or Constellation. So, they're making up the difference of what we're not generating from the solar thing. So in reality, we're only paying them for what they're supplying. But, I just want to see them come out and kind of explain or figure out what, why these two don't correlate better.
Right. But it's also important that we're being charged the correct amount, right?
Yep.
So whatever the meter is showing the lowest, the lowest production would be the best, right? Whatever. Yeah. So what do we pay? 11 cents a kilowatt hour or something like that? 11.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
11. Yeah, 11.
Okay. All right.
Which is better than Dave's 16.
Yeah. No kidding. Okay. So.
We're
PBC
only paying
projects.
cogeneration, we're paying about 8 cents.
Yeah. So you say.
I could prove it. That's including the cost of the gas. at a
And the
discounted
maintenance.
rate.
And the maintenance, right?
And the maintenance, 75 cents an operational hour.
Okay. All right.
Dan,
Well,
check my numbers though. I feel much more safe if Dan took a close look at. if it's
Turned
important,
all that analysis over to Dan, have you?
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, he can do a quality check on your numbers, I suppose.
I'm a chemist, he's an engineer.
Yeah. It's always good to have, somebody checking your,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, the PVC
PVC.
projects. Are there any? Yes, there's a lot of stuff in the newspaper about how this, $12.7 million capital plan, capital budget approval is going to go into boilers and roads but what, I don't have my notes with me.
Toilets, a lot of toilets,
Boiler,
a lot of cafeteria upgrades.
no, but there were some energy items on that list. I don't remember what they were. Does anybody?
Well, there's one out right now for upgrading the HVAC and at the police station. And
Police station, yeah.
that's the portion of the specifications I sent out to you guys, because I had concerns that a couple of things, something that you always harp on, there's no input from Energy Commission. It states, the successful bidder will have meetings with the Public Building Commission, the Town Council, the staff, or other parties. So it does say other parties. But, when I did contracts for the government, at least, we also had a list of deliverables, and I guess they were enumerated. And there's nothing specific to energy in there except for the systems have to be controllable through the centralized control, whatever. That's the only mention I can see about energy. And they're talking about a lot of dehumidification, ventilation. And right now that police department is about twice as efficient as most police departments per square footage.
Well, so we can fix that.
Pardon?
We can fix that.
Well, I guess the concept is the deliverables, I guess, are in the specification. But there's nothing saying that the successful bidder will evaluate energy consumption or try and maximize and
Right.
deliver a report on cost, et cetera.
And the Energy Commission is supposed to review the plans and specs.
Well, it doesn't say, it's not spelled out specifically.
There's probably nothing in there about life cycle costing.
Probably not.
No.
How about this, though? In this annual report that Amoresco is going to be issuing or has issued, they talk about the rooftop unit at the library was replaced and changed from a 15-ton to a 12-ton. I didn't know anything about that. Did anybody? Dan?
Yeah, that was quite a while ago.
No, about a year.
That was
maybe.
part of the roof replacement that they
Right.
did.
Yeah, but we didn't see anything on that. That didn't come up. It's supposedly a smaller unit, so I guess it consumes less energy. But is it an energy efficient unit? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. what
Yeah,
to-
they should give it, we should specify maybe analysis of the SEER or whatever
You
for
would
the
want-
units and try and get the most value for the buck on a life cycle and a cost basis.
We could do a lot of talking, but there's no action. What about boilers have been replaced at the Cheshire High School, Humison School, and Highland School with more efficient boilers with equivalent capacities? Who knows anything about that?
That'd be Rich Corbett.
Yeah, that might have been important then.
2 boilers were replaced at Chapman School.
It's your Board of Ed projects.
Board at avoiding us? Do you feel left out?
Yeah, we're being left out. 7 rooftop units at the library were replaced or upgraded. We're talking about the public library.
That's a PBC project. It's almost completed now.
Yeah, but every month we ask if there's any PBC projects, and we never heard about any of these. 2 rooftop units at the fire station were replaced. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been, none of this work shouldn't have been done, but would be nice to know about it so we could,
I took a look at their minutes today, and
Yep.
that's where I got the PD RFP lead from. But I mean, the way they do it, they assign, PBCs assign projects by the council. They usually do a subcommittee appointed for each project, and their job is to go out and either find a architect to design the project or select somebody they know how, they've done business with successfully to do it. They get a waiver. But I don't have the time to do that, or the capabilities really to. See, Rich Salvoy is a member of the PBC. He's also an employee of the Board of Education. Not Rich,
Love it.
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So, I mean, we've been giving him some grief at some of these meetings, and I don't know if he's totally happy with his role on the Energy Commission, but certainly he's been helpful. He's been very helpful in many ways.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we don't get input from him, that's your input right now.
yeah. So the next time we see Rich, we'll ask him why he didn't let us know about any of these projects.
He usually used to give you a email summary if you couldn't attend. I remember that.
Grandfather clock again?
Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. It's telling us that we're near the end. We're near the end. Okay, so what about,
Grants and rebates and utility
don't-
programs.
I presume that Rich Clavette is getting whatever rebates he's entitled to from all these projects. Hopefully he is. That's part of,
That isn't part of the request from the design bidder on the police department. That they're responsible for gathering information on all rebates and stuff like that.
okay.
The architect.
What do you have for tree trimming? Well,
I don't really have an update, and you know anything, Don, or Dan? You know, I know.
No, I don't think Don. I think EverSource has finished up most of their work in town, but they've been coming in. They've taken a couple things that we pointed out to them as of late, and I don't know if they have anything further to be doing in town right now.
okay, and there were a couple of new business items in.
Just says corrections to the town webpage, page 8, remove Michalowski, White, agendas and minutes.
Yeah.
Remove Michalowski.
Who do we
White.
talk to about that? Because that's been like that for a long time.
That goes to
Right.
Patty, Patty King in the clerk's office.
Patty King. All right.
Tim White also you want to remove.
Who?
Tim White.
Yeah. That's the other item, right?
Yeah,
Patty King.
as soon as they receive letters of resignation or notifications, then Patty is very good at updating the town website.
We're not
So
going to get a letter from Paul.
yeah, I know. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So perhaps as the chairperson, you could notify Patty and say
Yeah. Is it PATTI or what? Do
PATTI King,
you know her email address?
pking@cheshireCT.org.
Okay, I will send an email to Patty. What was the second part of that? There was on the minutes.
Tim
agenda.
White? Somebody mentioned Tim White?
Yeah. But
And
what-
then to add Dan Nido.
yeah, Don, Nato.
Don. Sorry, Don, Dan.
Too many Dans.
You get Don in and Timmy out and Paul out, and is Dan Knutson on there? I don't know why I don't have my agenda. Anyway, I'll send an email to Patty. And I'll tell her that
Rich, I could give you an update of something that's happening with the CCA.
Okay,
Um, the an advocate in Connecticut asked Pura to do a study because there was that study bill uh, before the legislature, but the legislature really didn't do too much this session, so they didn't even get to things like that. And so uh, an advocate went directly to Pura and asked them if they would do the study, and they said yes. And it's going to start in their first meeting on it is in 2 weeks.
do you want to mention the advocate's name or?
Oh, Peter Millman.
Peter Millman, okay. Let's describe Peter's role a little bit more thoroughly so we can put it in the minutes. Is he a member of some?
He did it through PACE,
PACE, okay.
People's Action for Clean Energy.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you could look it up. PACE, there's a website, PACE has a website, but it's not pace.org or .com, it's something else. My Pace or my,
Let's see, I just got an email from him.
okay, so Peter Millman was successful in getting Pura to agree to study or conduct an
An evaluation of what CCA would mean for Connecticut.
okay. And the timing of that is,
It's starting, and they're gonna have a public meeting, an online meeting, I guess, kind of like this, and that's in 2 weeks. July 14th at 10 o'clock.
okay. And so that's a public
Yep.
meeting of some sort, okay. And then how, I mean, what do you think happens after that? What would be the next step?
I don't know too well. I think they'll have a couple meetings on it. They'll interview some people and or write a report.
So what's the timing of that? Like, something this year or early next year or what?
Yeah, the hope was that it would be before the end of the year, but
And then
Um,
something in time for
may not be.
the next session,
yeah, that was the hope.
which begins when?
January.
January, okay. All right. Is there another item under new business, Ian?
I'd like to talk about something about new business.
You have to make a motion.
Motion to have a discussion about a possible topic.
You want to add a topic?
Possible time.
Well, no, I'm looking for guidance. I mean, let me tell you what I'm thinking.
All right, share your thoughts.
You know, that there's talk about a multifamily project up on the hill near Waterbury. And there's a sign for development of the enterprise zone, which would include multifamily. And a lot of multifamily, you have developers that commit to the Energy Star program, and you really get a superior product because the Energy Star program not only talks about the energy, but it's the right way to build a house. It goes into all the flashings, water drainage, and you come out with a superior units, which are and the buildings tend to be more durable than the developers just building, you know, with the cheapest products available and trying to sell it off. And I'm just wondering, is it possible for the town to require that these developments obtain Energy Star status?
Is it a private or public undertaking?
Oh, they're both
Private.
Are you talking about that they're going to convert a former
Nursing
convalescent
home.
home into a,
right,
Yeah, and they're not converting it. I mean, they're tearing it down and it's gonna be new buildings.
right.
and they're talking about public housing, or some portion of it will be public housing. Is that coming under, is that a government Does Cheshire have anything to do with that?
Well, obviously they're, it's going through planning and zoning.
That's for permitting and whatever, but is it, Cheshire has some small number of public housing, right?
There's a Beachport.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think this is public housing at all. I think that specifically is like the couple apartment buildings of sorts or a multifamily.
yeah.
stacked
Beachport is, Beachport's Cheshire Housing Authority, but this is private. As far as, I mean, they can only be required to meet the, state building code and the energy portion of the state building code. Unless the town adopts a regulation that says they have to meet some higher standard, you can't single them out and make
Yeah, I
them meet
wouldn't say
thing
that.
that no one else does.
I would think if it was part of the Cheshire Housing Authority that maybe they could or should specify some energy standards, but if it's not a public project, then I don't know how you would enforce any kind of regulations that stipulate a certain amount of energy.
Yeah, because the difference between a code-built multifamily and an Energy Star multifamily is significant.
Well,
One will last longer.
maybe the owner or the contractor needs to know that there are probably incentives to upgrade from standard to Energy Star.
Yeah, and typically I find if it's a developer who's going to hold the property in his own portfolio, he's going to keep it for 10 or 20 years, they almost always go with the Energy Star.
Yeah, 'cause
When they're
there's-
just planning on flipping it, developing it and selling it to a landlord, you end up with, pretty rundown properties in 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know where that facility is, but it sounds like it's a mess, right? The
It's
existing.
right on that little.
Yeah,
pond.
it's up if you go up Route 70, go underneath 84, it's the next right.
It's off Lakeview Avenue there. There's a pond in the backyard. Across the pond is the hospital. It used to be the hospital.
Yeah, and I mean, those buildings are dilapidated now, so
Oh, they're dead.
just
They're
tearing them
dead, yeah.
down.
Yeah,
It's in Cheshire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to live right behind there, so it's well known to me.
uh-huh.
During Hurricane Gloria, we got our power back in one day, whereas the rest of the town about 2 weeks.
Usually fine, yeah. Does anybody have anything else? Dave, did you turn the lights out there? You say,
That actually was shining in my eye.
are there any?
Getting
Any other
dark.
people?
Yeah, that's better.
There you go.
Is there any other business to be discussed?
It's not really business, but it's maybe next month, do you plan on meeting in person? You're allowed to.
Yeah, probably will. That would be the end of July, right? Or near the end of July.
Yeah.
What's the fourth Monday in July, Ann? Do you have a calendar?
I don't have one in front of me.
I think it's the 27th.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, it looks like we'll do an in-person meeting.
What
With
they'll do is,
masks?
we just, the one thing, you just have to keep in mind is I'll try and set your meeting up. We have one room town council right now that pretty much most of our commissions have to meet in because we can accommodate the social distancing by setting up the tables so that everybody is 6 feet apart and we can provide hand sanitizer. So I'll just have to, I don't know how flexible you are, but we may have to adjust if there's another commission meeting the same night because there's only
think
one
they could
room
ma-
for
I
everybody.
think, they could meet in 209. I mean, there's,
209.
well, I mean, there's only 5 members, because there's 2 vacancies, and then let's just
That's
say,
true.
Rich Clavette, Dan, and a note taker. I mean, probably 8. It's unlikely there'd be anybody from the
Yeah.
public.
I'll check with Arnett because I know that she was talking about 6 maximum, Or, like we're talking about really small groups, but let me check with her and I'll suggest 209.
Yeah, just
Is that
ask.
our regular
209.
meeting? Is that our regular room?
No, we're
Yeah.
in 210 regularly.
210.
It's the one across the hall, which is bigger and the table's bigger. So,
Right.
in theory, you could spread out a little more.
We
We
have
have
to
to
wear
wear masks.
masks too.
Yes.
We have to wear a mask?
Yes. Oh, you can take it off. I'm sure you can take it off the talk at the table, but when you enter town hall, you're required to wear a mask coming and going. And at least currently, that's what the restrictions are right
Let
now.
me ask,
but-
I'll ask the group, do you want to do that with all the masks, or do you want to just continue to do these virtual meetings?
Do we have to have our temperatures taken?
No,
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 no.
no.
Don, what do you think?
I'm fine either way.
Dan?
I could go either way.
Well,
I guess I think maybe this is better.
I do too. I don't want to,
We've cut down at least a half hour on the length of the meeting.
yeah, okay. So
That's
even
true.
though we can
Plus
meet in
commuting
person,
time.
we won't meet in person. We're going to meet virtually. It's a lot more comfortable. And I don't know if it's safer, but yeah.
Okay, I'll set that up.
Right, I didn't ask Dan Bombero. You want to?
You don't need to ask me. No, this actually works swimmingly for me. I get to come home after work, see the kids before I have
He
to-
lives in Woodbury, so he's,
Yeah, it's a bit of a drive.
Okay, good. That's good. All right, that's what we're going to do. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, I just want to thank Dan and Rich at the Board of Education for the important impact they've had on this updating of the portfolio. They did a good job.
Okay, I think we all agree with that.
who said that? I can't see the guy that said that.
That masked man, took my mask off.
That's Darth Vader. So
The
who
Lone-
made the
the Lone
motion?
Ranger.
Who made-
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And is there a
Second.
second? Who's Don?
Yep.
Who wants a second? Let's get it on the record. Don, Dan?
Second, yep.
Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll see you next month, guys. Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.